Medical workers of Reddit, what were the most haunting last words you've heard from a patient? Student, sir, are you in any pain? Patient, the fuck kind of dumbest question is that? I just got fucking stabbed. Fuck yeah, I'm in pain. He died within minutes. A family friend had a very young niece that was dying from cancer. Her parents were there to comfort her in the final hours, and one of the last things she asked was, how do I die? I was about 5 or 6 when my grandfather was on his deathbed. The last thing he did was put his hand on my shoulder and said, no wonder you never liked my spicy food. And then he passed about 10 seconds later. We were all super confused. About 3 months later I almost died from suffocation after eating some salsa. At the hospital I was diagnosed with a capsaicin allergy, spicy food. To this day it still creeps me out. No one knew I was allergic before then, and I didn't show any signs either. My pop died of lung cancer. The last lucid thing he did was wake up just long enough to sing "Show Me the Way to Go Home." I'm tired and I want to go to bed. I had a little drink about an hour ago and it went right to my head. It was really pretty amazing and freaky at the same time. Fuck cancer. Edit. Wow, my first gold. Thanks for the glitter and all the kind words. My sincerest condolences to everyone who has lost someone to this horrible disease. Dad was over 80 and had smoked for a lot of his life. I still miss him, but he lived a long life and his time had come. I've lost a couple of friends who are my age to cancer, and those deaths are much harder to accept. He was a foot soldier in WWII, and he sang that song while marching through Germany, I believe. Working carriage driver in my earlier days, I overheard an old woman console her dying husband. Went like this. Damn it, Jim, you have beat so many things in your life. For heaven's sake, you beat that murder charge for that guy you killed. You can beat this. Don't you dare fucking die, Jim. That was the first time Jim didn't listen to his wife. It wasn't words, but the most haunting death was a patient who was DNR through her and her family's wishes. She was losing her battle, and her family wasn't there. She was getting frantic and looking around and half sitting up in bed, and a nurse with more experience than me took her hand and calmly said, "It's okay. You're not alone. We are right here with you. It's okay to leave." The patient immediately calmed, put her head back on the pillow and died. I knew I wanted to be that nurse when I grew up. How the hell did she know just what to do and say? I've never forgotten it. My mom passed away a couple of hours after I told her I'd be okay and that it's okay for her to go. I've always hoped that I was able to give her the peace of mind she needed to let go. Nurse in hospital caring for 40-ish man with brain tumor, coming in and out of consciousness, not to be resuscitated. His 16-year-old daughter was crying non-stop for 12 hours. His wife, who had been given a few months to prepare herself, was calm and focused on her husband. I had to routinely check his level of consciousness, which involved talking to him in a loud voice, response to auditory stimulation, which I did not like to do. So I asked his wife to do the loud voice part, so the voice he would hear would be hers, not mine, and she did so without hesitation. The only response we observed with her vocalization was that this by now profoundly unconscious patient took her hand to his lips and kissed it. He stopped breathing very soon after that. I'm haunted, but not in a bad way. My grandpa was similar, struggling to hang on but not responsive. My grandma grabbed his hand and said, "It's okay, you can go. The kids will take care of me." He was gone within the hour. He loved her so much that it wasn't a surprise that he needed her permission to die. Edit. Thank you for the silver. I didn't expect this to blow up as it did. Thank you all for sharing your stories, they were very touching. My husband is a PICU nurse, and one morning he came home in a bit of a daze. I asked him what was wrong, and he told me about a little boy who had been in PICU for a few days already and wasn't getting better. Most nights, the little boy would wake up, so one of the nurses would keep him company while he fell asleep again. My husband was doing just that. He read him a book, then just sat there with the boy listening to music, so he would go back to sleep. Before falling asleep, the little boy said, "You were my favorite." The boy passed away in the morning. His little heart gave out and refused to restart. Although all patients are important, some leave more of an impression than others. Until that point, that little boy hadn't stood out to my husband, and he felt terrible about it because, clearly, he had made a big impression on that little boy. That was the only patient's funeral he has ever attended. Edit. Thank you so much everyone for your amazing replies. I have passed along your love and gratitude to my husband. Actually read him some comments and he blushed and got all bashful. Thank you to those who gave this comment silver, golds and platinum. Since my husband did not receive this prizes, I went and bought him a PSN card so he can spend on his games and made him his favorite for dinner. Sweet guy in his 20s with endocarditis, heart valve infection, caused by 4th drug abuse. I was prepping him for his 3rd open heart surgery when he sat up, looked me in the eye, and said, "I'm going to die, aren't I?" He did not survive the surgery. When I was a senior resident, a young man, late 20s, was admitted for pneumonia. He got worse quickly, and I was called to his room to help while on call that night. He was having trouble breathing and needed intubated. I explained all this to him, and that I would sedate him and then get him intubated, so we could help him breathe. He agreed and we got everything ready. The last thing he said to me was, "Doc, please don't let me die." I told him I would do my very best. I got him intubated and transferred to the ICU. A few weeks later I was on call covering the ICU, and he was barely hanging on. I knew he would not make it through the night. He went into VFib several times, and I was able to bring him back, but only briefly. He was just too sick, and he died shortly after that. It was horrible talking to his mother and girlfriend, and comforting them knowing the last words he ever spoke were to me saying, "Please don't let me die." On the other hand, you were true to your word, you did your best, and didn't let him die. Death had to fight you for it. With wide eyes, don't listen to my family, they want to keep me around forever, but I just want to die. They won't let me. Edit. She wanted to get off dialysis, which was a death sentence for her. Hospice nurse here had a patient who was experiencing terminal agitation. With an expression of complete terror on his face, he said, "Help me. They are coming to get me. Can I smoke in here?" We were on an ambulance. Watch our other videos and subscribe cause you're not a scrub.